talk. Albracht. Stay right there for the latest breaking in sports talk. It's Sports Daily coming up next exclusively on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I'm JB Long with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. New Broncos defensive end Frank Clark believes that Denver has the type of team to, quote, turn it around in a heartbeat. Clark recently signed a one-year, $5.5 million deal and told the Undefined podcast, I've seen it and I know it. They just need to add a few pieces to get the job done, and I feel like they're doing the right thing adding me. Clark spent the last 4 seasons with the Chiefs. After 9 years with 5 NFL teams, running back Latavius Murray said he's excited to play for a contender, and his singular focus is to play a part in the Bills' journey to win the franchise's first Super Bowl. Murray signed a one-year deal with Buffalo here in
so no reads.
Want more coverage of the NFL?
Hand over stuff in, and that'll be it.
Plus, enjoy live events and on-demand content, as well as 2 exclusive live inside minicamp shows this Tuesday and Wednesday, June 13th and 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Sign up today at plus.nfl.com. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Lowe's knows the best deals for dad. That's why this Father's Day, you can shop our best gifts from the brands he loves for less. Help dad power his next big project by getting him a Cobalt 24-volt max drill kit, now only $89. And save up to 40% on select tools and accessories. Shop Father's Day deals today, in-store and online. Lowe's knows dads. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 6/14 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
The Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks made it easy to put a smile on Dad's face. Use promo code SIZZLE at checkout at omahasteaks.com and get $30 off your qualifying order. Choose from mouth-watering packages like fork tender, bacon wrapped filet mignons, air-chilled boneless chicken breasts, burgers, jumbo franks, and more. Plus, most gift packages come with 4 delicious caramel apple tartlets. Go to omahasteaks.com. Use code SIZZLE at checkout for $30 off. That's omahasteaks.com. Code SIZZLE at checkout. Minimum order is required. See site for details.
Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
And happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into Sports Daily. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor with you right here on KFH. You can find us on our video stream. Appreciate everybody tuning in there. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all covered for you. You've got the IHOP hotline open for you. 869-1240 is that IHOP hotline. I'm back, baby, for a few days before a little bit more travel, and then that's it for me. If I sound tired and exhausted, it is one of those need a vacation from a vacation kind of situations, but we're here without fail. When I leave town over the last, 7-8 years, major things happen. That's what happened this time. Tommy, how are you?
I'm good. Glad to be back. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in like 2 weeks, over 2 weeks.
Oh, that's right.
We haven't been together in a long time. So glad to be here. Glad to have you back and looking forward to getting into it.
It's been nuts trying to be on the road. So I have been out on the West Coast. We took the kids to Disneyland, which was great, but it's a lot. And for some reason, like my cell phone decides on the West Coast, it doesn't want to work very well. So I've been like battling this lack of internet and trying to keep up with all these stories and chase 3 kids around Disneyland
and do all of these things. It's been nuts. Tommy's got a newborn. We're both running on fumes here. That's all right. That's how we roll. If we say crazy things, we'll blame it on that. It's no big deal.
Sure.
How'd everything go last week? How's anything big happen?
There were a couple different things that happened last week. Paul and I think we covered them pretty well, but looking forward to hearing your take on some of these big time events that happened last week. But yeah, I mean, today is my first full day back at the office. Did the show last week with Paul from home. And so, that was fun. There was a day, and I don't remember, it might've been Wednesday, where, you've got a newborn and we've got a toddler, and there were doctor's appointments and different things like that conflicted with the show. So there was a day where I was on newborn duty. And so he was literally right off camera during the show. And then at one point he started to cry. And so I'm holding him as I'm hosting the second hour of the show. It was just a lot of scrambling and trying to make sure that things were covered, but we got through it okay. And here we are on a Monday.
All the more reason sometimes to catch us on our video stream if you can, because sometimes things get interesting here. It's been a lot going on in the sports world. So, what we'll do today is we'll recap some of that. I know some of these are topics that certainly opinions have been formed and made. So we'll get into some of that. Those would include, the new hire for Wichita State baseball, the new big merger in golf, as we have, as storybook and ending to a tournament yesterday, as we've had all year. We've, of course, got the NBA Finals, a potential series clincher tonight. The big news over the weekend for us here locally is Arthur Kaluma, the big-time transfer from Creighton, chooses K-State and sort of transforms a class, I think, a little bit. So we'll take a little bit of a look at K-State's roster. Jerome Tang makes a huge splash there. So we'll get into all of those things. All kinds of different things to get into today with you. Your calls on the IHOP hotline, always appreciated. Tommy, let's start with Wichita State baseball, because that's the one that seems to have the most run, I suppose. And you guys had a chance to talk to Brian Green last week. I have not talked to Brian Green yet. All of this has sort of happened in the last week since I've been gone, but we know that all the players are transferring, and then the big news we see last night and into this morning, Peyton Tolley decides to transfer out of Wichita State. We had sort of felt like he was sticking around, but that is not the case. He is now in the portal as well. So that's just about everybody there. And I think that, we got to kind of go back a little bit before we can go forward, at least because I haven't been here, and it'll give me a chance to sort of digest all of this. But it's going to be essentially a total restart here in Brian Green. Now, I don't know what sort of damage can be done inside the portal to put a roster together for next year. I don't know. And here's the thing with baseball. When we do this with basketball, it's much easier for me to sit here and be like, here's what needs to happen. Here's a relatively sane timeline to consider on a return to, what needs to be there. I don't know what to expect on this one. I don't know much about the credentials of college baseball coaches. I know that Brian Green and Kevin Saul clearly had a relationship heading into this. I also know that's not unusual at all for anybody that, wants to, scream like, oh, you can't do that just because. Yeah, you can. I mean, Gene Taylor hired Chris Kleiman because he knew Chris Kleiman. It happens all the time. Like, familiarity is nothing. It happens in the real world too, by the way. If you got a promotion, you'd probably like to bring along with you anybody that helped you have success. So that part of it doesn't bother me at all. I don't understand credentials in college baseball. I thought Eric Wedge was going to be a home run hire, right? I love that hire. That hire didn't work out at all. It was a disaster in a lot of ways. So like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, these credentials aren't what need to be there, because I honestly, I don't know. I have no idea. Expectations, I know it's got to be better. And I've struggled with this a lot because I, like you, Tommy, and like a lot of people, could feel this intangible progress last season. It's not tangible because they didn't finish that strong, right? 5 games over 500. And, it's certainly not back to the postseason, which is where they need to be, which is where they haven't really been in the last decade. One time in the last 14 years, never a better finish than 3rd in the AAC. And they've had some really talented players, case in point last year. But you go back to some of those Todd Butler years where they had, first-round draft picks and all these things. And for whatever reason, the winning isn't coming. And I think because of that, people aren't going to the games. So the part of this I've struggled with as it pertains to Lauren Hibbs and the direction of the program and Kevin Saul's decision is, yeah, I did feel that progress. And yeah, I've been on record to say I would have liked to see, like a very short maybe deal for Hibbs. Again, that's without as much knowledge on the situation. But yeah, I think that you could definitely warrant that. But at the bottom line was people still weren't coming to the games. So everyone that, is screaming from the rooftops of like, oh, this was going so well. Did you go to any games? Were you there? Because ultimately, and I'm not blaming you if you didn't, that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm just saying is you have to make that sort of decision that has to be a part of the process. Like the buzz has to be recreated. And if it wasn't happening, then, that's fine. And also, I know that this is a priority for Kevin Saul. The first time we talked to Kevin Saul, whether it was on Sports Sunday for television, on the TV side of things, or here on Sports Daily, baseball was brought up early and often in that conversation. So I think there has been some sort of plan for a while, and here we go. Is it Brian Green? I have no idea about Brian Green's credentials. I'm not going to give you a take on that because I have no clue. I don't know college baseball that way. What I do know is it's been a long time since Wichita State baseball has been any good, and they got to get good again. They've got too good of facilities. They've got all of the things there, and for whatever reason, the buzz around that program has not been there. I've been here for a decade, hadn't been here since I've been here. And that seems crazy to me as you watch the College World Series and these regionals play out right now, because that's been there and was there for so long for Wichita State. So get it back there. The decisions themselves, there's been a lot about, these player transfers and whether they wouldn't happen or would have happened. And, I've heard things and you've heard things, Tommy, and, I don't know. But what I do know is it wasn't working holistically. Whether it was on the right path, I think, is the point of conversation. But, the end result hasn't been there in a really long time for Wichita State baseball.
Yeah, I've been torn on this, for quite a while because, I did feel like there was some intangible growth this season. I mean, we were having conversations back in March as this team was battling for first place in the conference and, had a late season slide for sure, did not have a good showing in the conference tournament. And then Kevin Saul made the choice to not retain Lauren Hibbs and go out and bring in Brian Green. And like you mentioned, we talked to Brian Green on the show on Thursday. And I'm torn on this too, because I thought he was a good interview. I thought he was sharp. I felt like he was articulate. I felt like he was intelligent. I felt like he had all of those, sort of attributes, that you get done with an interview and you're like, okay, I can kind of see this a little bit. But I also know that he's got quite a bit of work in front of him with an entire roster in the portal. And now Peyton Tolley, who was the one, I guess, saving grace, the one guy that I think you could cling on to a glimmer of hope, from the team and the roster from last season. And now he's in the portal too. And Green talked about, during his press conference and then during interviews afterwards about that was priority number one, was keeping Peyton Tolley in Wichita. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So, unfortunately, that one glimmer of hope that at least I had is no longer there anymore. And that doesn't mean that Green can't get it back. It just means that the cards are stacked against him, I think, a little bit. The deck is stacked against him. He's got a lot of work to do, and I think he can build a roster, right? There are enough baseball players out there to build a roster. At what level of success? I don't know. This is a guy that, you want to talk about getting Wichita State back to the championship mode where they had been for years and years and years. Brian Green, for as good of an interview as he is, and how I think a lot of people really want to have a lot of hope in him, he's not a championship winning coach. He never has been, during the course of his career. He's won a couple of conference championships in the WAC and, different places like that when he was at New Mexico State and Washington State. He's never taken a team to the College World Series. And so there's not a track record there that you can point to or hang on to and say, this is absolutely the guy who's going to get Wichita State back to the promised land. Doesn't mean he can't do it. I'd like to have hope and optimism that he can, but right now there's very, very little to hang on to.
Yeah, I that's what, and that I agree. And that's what makes it hard for me. Like, college baseball, here's the reality for me. And I think for almost everybody else. No, you didn't know who Brian Green was before he took the job. You probably didn't know who anybody else was either. Like, how many college baseball coaches right now, Tommy, do you think you could say, I know that coach coaches that team? I'm gonna be blatantly obvious. Zero. I don't know anybody. Is Augie Garrido still the coach at Texas? I don't think so. Like, honestly, I don't know any. Zero. So it's not like when we did this with college basketball, where we have some fairly strong takes, right, on different coaches and their credentials. And, who brings what to the table. I don't know any of these guys. I don't. So I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, X, Y, or Z is better than X, Y, or Z. I have no idea. I mean, you just saw a coach hired from Oral Roberts in basketball, and it didn't take long to quickly know something about what that program's been, the players that have been there. Maybe you didn't know his name before the end of the year, but you can quickly look at it and say, okay, here's why that's good. Here's why that's bad. I can't do that with college baseball. I just don't know. So at that point, it's just sort of whatever to me. It's more about like holistically the decision to take a different direction than what you've been for the last 3 years, 4 years, I suppose, with Eric Wedge, because that's what you're doing. It's probably not fair to Lauren Hibbs to tie him to the Eric Wedge hire, but he's tied to the Eric Wedge hire.
Sure.
And so that's more of the change that's happening. Here's the other part of it that because Peyton Tolley stings, right? He's one of the best, if not the best, two-way player in the country. And I like some of the other guys on the roster too that are leaving. At the same time, they finished 5 games over 500. So like the guys on the roster didn't perform at a high enough level anyway. So it's not like, you lost a College World Series caliber team. And I don't mean this as any offense to those guys. I hate that those players transferred because there's a lot of young, really interesting talent on the team. Just saying, like, we can't pretend like things were going so well last year. They weren't. They stumbled down the stretch. There was a collapse. They didn't win the league. They didn't reach the postseason, right? So that makes all of this more difficult to me because it sucks when you have to make a change almost all of the time because you become fond of coaches and players because you're watching them and you root for them and you cheer for them. And that's what makes it so difficult. And that's why these are such high stakes decisions for Kevin Saul to make, not just with baseball, but with women's basketball now and with men's basketball and all of these changes that have been made. Like there's a lot of risk in all of these because, what is the future? I think the risk in baseball is different than the risk in basketball, right? Or in men's basketball, I'll say, because there is a clear, like year one to me, and we talked about it ad nauseum here, a clear year one expectation that has to be reached, right? Or that needs to be reached right away in college men's basketball right now because of the transfer portal and how quickly you can build a roster and what Wichita State has been very recently. In baseball, it's not that way. Like Wichita State baseball hasn't been a relevant program nationally. I mean, how long has it been? It's hard for me to say.
It's been over a decade. It's been over
because
a decade.
It's like my entire time here, they have not been that. And, when you look just down the street and see this wild and crazy success for softball that you want to emulate like immediately, like that took some time too. So I don't know what an expectation is as far as timelines. I mean, I think we can like overarchingly look at it and say, well, yeah, they need to be back in the College World Series in 3 years, right? But I don't know, like coming in now, I don't even know how you roster build in baseball.
I mean, yeah,
when you lost all your players, I don't know how difficult that's going to be.
I would say strap in. I mean, it's going to take a while. I mean, honestly, I really think that. I mean, I don't think that Brian Green is going to have an issue with building a team, right? He's going to have a roster. I just don't know how good of a roster it's going to be right off the bat in the American this season. And that's the disappointing thing to me. And, there's countless, conversations and discussions about whether or not these high caliber, these talented players would have entered the portal regardless if they would have left, even if Lauren Hibbs would have been retained. I don't know that definitively. I don't know the answer to that definitively. If you listen to different folks talk, it sounds like that probably would have been the case. I don't know that to be absolute gospel fact, but it's disappointing to me when you've got some players that are really, really talented, not just Peyton Tolley, but other players on this roster, some pitchers like Clark Candiotti and, others that have entered the portal. It's going to be disappointing to me if this rebuild takes a long time, or let's just call it for what it might be. I don't know, but call it for what it might be that it doesn't get rebuilt at all. And you're like, you stripped it down to the studs, down to the foundation. with no guarantee that you're ever going to get it back to even the point where it's at right now. That's the major risk, is that, yeah, they're not a great program right now. I mean, they finished 5 games over 500 and got eliminated in the conference tournament and missed the postseason. So I get that. I understand that's not acceptable, but there's no guarantee that they can even get back to that point with this new leadership and the roster and all of that.
If that point is not good enough and people aren't going to the games anyway, like, what risk is there? And I think for me, like, that's what I've really tried to ponder. Like, what is the risk? Because what's been there, and I'm not even talking about wins and losses, because there have been pockets of really nice regular seasons, but that's still not putting butts in those seats.
I know. So
I don't know what the risk is, because the risk to me is, like, people don't come to the games. People aren't coming to the games anyway. And so, like, that's where I think this decision has to be looked at less personally and more businesslike, right? And if you strip it all away and say, let's just make a business decision here, you've got this amazing facility. Watch the College World Series right now. Watch these regionals. There's nothing better than you find at X Stadium. There isn't. Look around. It's not better. And so you look at that and you realize how much individual talent, whether it was Todd Butler or Eric Wedge or whatever, that has been through. Like, there have been really, really talented players come through Wichita State in these years of no success. So my guess is that those really, really good players will still be attracted to the opportunity and to the facilities. And so that gives me some hope. And then the other part of it is, like, what does it take to regenerate buzz for college baseball? Like, what will that need to take? And that's a part of it I also don't understand. Like, for basketball, we have some idea, right, of the needs for a change to be made as far as, fundraising and booster pleasing and all of those things. I don't know what that is in baseball. I would venture to guess that the NIL component in baseball will have some, if not a very large, indication on how quickly this can happen for Brian Green. I don't know what kind of grasp on that he has. But, part of the Brian Green hire, I would suspect, and again, I haven't talked to him. You guys did, but part of the reason I think that, he was probably hired is because there's some hope from Kevin Saul's perspective that he can also build the buzz around the program again, as much off the field as on the field, would be my guess. Sure. Right. And that's got to be priority one. Like, what can you do to get people excited about games again? Winning is obviously a big part of that, but they've had years of individual success. Now, not to the postseason, but even in those regular seasons, I mean, there were years with Todd Butler where they won a bunch of games with really talented players, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah, I think that's, you asked what the risk was. I think the risk is going through this again in 2 or 3 years. I think that's the major risk, right? Where, we revisit this and we're right back to the well in a couple of years. I hope that doesn't happen, and I don't want anybody to misconstrue my thoughts on this as I'm rooting for this to fail, because I'm not. I want Shocker baseball to be successful. I was a kid when the Shockers won the College World Series, and it was incredible. Shocker baseball was where it was at growing up, and I want it back to its glory. I genuinely do. And I really, really want Brian Green to be the guy to make it happen. I mean, the decision's been made. He's the guy. He's the coach. Let's get it done. The problem is right now, where I stand, where I sit, I have a really hard time finding a lot of optimism. And that's going to be the challenge that Brian Green has moving forward and building this roster and going into next season, is finding ways to make the fan base optimistic again, to give them hope again. Right now, and especially with Peyton Tolle entering the portal, I have a hard time finding optimism right now. Doesn't mean that I can't find it, but I need to see something, and he's got a lot of work cut out for him in the next couple of months. I want to see, some big things happen where then I can say, all right, cool. I can feel the momentum. I can feel the progress. Let's go and get it.
We can say this with an absolute. It was not good with Eric Wedge, right? It did not work at all. it wasn't happening. So like that risk happened. I think that was the biggest risk in 2014 when Todd Butler was hired, right? And it just hasn't gone since then the way it's needed to. So I don't know how much risk that, because we've been there twice already now. And look, there were years, again, Todd Butler went through a 2-year stretch where they were 21 and 14 games over 500 back-to-back years. And it just still wasn't enough, to get the buzz going for the program again. Now it was, better attended than it has been in the last few years, but I don't know, outside of returning to regionals, what will do it for Wichita State baseball, because it hasn't been elite players. They've had that. I mean, they've had a lot of that. It hasn't been, above average regular seasons. That hasn't been good enough because they've had that. And outside of conference championships and outside of, postseason play, I just don't know what it's going to be. And here's the elephant in the room, Tommy, and we can take a break, is this is the biggest thing I've wondered now for 2 or 3 years. Is Wichita geographically going to be able to compete with the South? And weather matters. And it sometimes sucks to go to X Stadium when the shadows are out and it's cold in May still. That's a problem too. And I don't know how much that landscape has changed. I don't know how much impact that has. It has some impact. Nobody wants to go to a cold, windy game on a Tuesday night, right? Wednesday night. So that's the other piece of it that I wonder about constantly. Like how much, in our evolving and changing society is going to midweek games when it's cold outside. That's difficult to do anyway. So that's where, the buzz and the program building off the field has to really, really take off and reprioritize, because I think just on the field by itself, outside of like a college World Series run, hasn't been enough. There've been years of that. Hadn't been good enough. So what happens to get people in the stadium for fun? For fun. That's going to be a big piece of what Brian Green and Kevin Saul have to do from day one now in this new regime. Let's take a quick break. 869-1240. Sorry about that. We'll do a lot of this today, so we get caught up sort of on some of these big stories. But I'm curious to see now the roster building and how quickly that happens, because again, I'm flying blind on that with most people. I have no idea what to expect, or I don't have a set of expectations because I don't know where to put them. 869-1240. If you do, let us know on the IHOP hotline. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to react to the Live Golf Tournament merger a little later in the show. We want to get to the other big news item from the weekend, though. We told you Peyton Tolley's transferring out from Wichita State baseball. For K-State men's basketball, they get a big one transferring in. We'll talk about that next on Sports Daily.
Your phone call is welcome. 869-1240. Sports Daily on 97.5 and 1240. KFH, Wichita's #1 sports talk radio.
Forever Lawn South Central Kansas has the best reputation in the Midwest for artificial turf projects of all sizes. Forever Lawn sports grass is requested by both schools and homeowners and can be installed at football fields, baseball diamonds, bullpens, and even indoor training facilities. Can't get grass to grow or tired of paying outrageous water bills? Forever Lawn South Central Kansas can even repair existing artificial and natural sports surfaces. Ready to see what Forever Lawn can do for you? Call 316-688-0722. Tell them you heard about them on KFH.
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
I'm attorney Ben Winters with Patterson Legal Group. After being hurt in a car wreck, you need to hire the right attorney. How do you find the right attorney? You look for one that has experience and, most importantly, results. Patterson Legal Group has recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for injured people. In a wreck, need a check? Call us today.
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
Pizza John's, open since 1969. Dine in Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. at 208 South Baltimore in Derby. Give them a call at 788-2011 or go online at pizzajohnsderby.com. Pizza John's, purveyors of round meals and flat snacks.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. When buying toys for your pet, look for natural materials like cotton, rope, wood, or bamboo. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
This is Micah Lewis, Program Manager for Junior Achievement, inviting you to help inspire and prepare students toward their financial success. JA teaches financial literacy and entrepreneurship to students in kindergarten through high school. Our programs are volunteer-led and business community funded. For more information on volunteering, find us online at kansasja.org, and we're glad Odyssey serves.
Celebrate your birthday at Hook and Reel Cajun Seafood Restaurant. Enjoy a free birthday boil, including your choice of seafood and sauce, with corn, potatoes, and cheesecake. Get the details and eat for free on your birthday at Hook and Reel at Town East Square, Kellogg and Rock.
Being a baseball play-by-play broadcaster demands a blend of learned mechanics, intense preparation, and a calm sense of entertainment. How hard is it to do this job? Let's talk to the ones who do it. This is Matt Spiegel. My new podcast, The PBP, Voices of Baseball, will bring those conversations to you as the best working and former broadcasters tell you why and how they do it. New episodes come every Thursday all summer long. Follow The PBP, Voices of Baseball, on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcasts.
Lowe's knows the best deals for dad. That's why this Father's Day, you can shop our best gifts from the brands he loves for less. Help Dad power his next big project by getting him a Cobalt 24-volt max drill kit, now only $89. And save up to 40% on select tools and accessories. Shop Father's Day deals today, in-store and online. Lowe's knows dads. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 6/14 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Hey guys, this is Keenan Thompson. I have a problem with you. Yes, you. None of y'all told me that AutoTrader has millions of new and used cars that I can shop from home. I thought we were friends. I put smiles on your face, but I'm not smiling. No one told me that with AutoTrader, a dealer can deliver cars to my home or that I could shop by price on AutoTrader. No one. Consider this friendship that you just learned we had officially over. Finally, it's easy. AutoTrader.
Dazzling decal on Daisy's Donuts window. Bold banner at Barry's Barbershop. Prominent poster at Penny's on Park Place.
This is your sign. Well, signs. To try Staples and see the difference. Get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more.
From Staples, and I couldn't miss it.
N617. Visit staplesconnect.com/printbig for details.
At Lowe's, we're always bringing pros more ways to save. Right now, buy a DeWalt 20-volt max brushless drill kit for just $99. That's $60 in total savings. Plus, earn up to 3 times the bonus points per dollar when you buy select Eaton multi-packs. Shop in-store or online for deals you can't beat. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Valid 6/1 through 7/5 while supplies last. U.S. only. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 6/30. Subject to change.
Imagine a career where you see your work every time you look up into the sky. At Textron Aviation, we make world-class Cessna and Beechcraft aircraft, and we're looking for people to join us. Explore the possibilities at txtav.com/careers.
Brought to you by Textron Aviation. Explore the possibilities at txtav.com/careers.
Dude, you gotta hear this.
Go ahead. I think I want to hear this.
Sports Daily is on KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily on KFH. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor with you here on this Monday edition. This catch-up edition for me has been gone for a week. Tommy and I haven't been on the same airwaves in 2 weeks. It's been a crazy June, end of May into June. And it'll just, this is sort of how the summer is. It's been wild. We got back in, landed yesterday afternoon, and you're scrambling to get the grass cut, which is a jungle because you've been gone for a week, and get kids all caught up, and we got to turn around and hit the road again later this week. Man, I got to tell you, this is punishment. And as Tommy sits here on fumes with the newborn baby, and then we get all these news bombs falling right into our laps. The big one yesterday, and it's a big one, is for Kansas State baseball. And we wondered, how much do we need to be concerned about how slow the offseason has moved for the Wildcats? Well, they get a big one. Arthur Kaluma, in a lot of ways, one of the biggest remaining, a very lengthy forward who was really good at Creighton last year, about 12 points and 6 rebounds a game. Not a great three-point shooter, but they got a great three-point shooter in Tyler Perry, remember, and that, should alleviate some of that. I still do think they need a shooter or two, but they've got their potentially their point guard, and now they've got a potential replacement for Keontae Johnson. If you're just looking like skill set to skills or size to size, I should say, and of course Naquan Tomlin's coming back. So with Kaluma now and Tyler Perry and Naquan Tomlin, Tommy, I think we're beginning to see the makings of a roster now that you can sort of take a sigh of relief. Now, they're not done yet, and there's still plenty of players out there. They're not finished, and they do need to go get some pieces. But just like last offseason, even if things move slow in the portal, that's not the end of the world. And K-State has had two really quality transfers. And remember, they had one of the best classes they've had ever coming in this year too. So I think K-State now fans can feel a whole lot better, and it doesn't look like a roster by any means it's going to be like last place in the Big 12 or anything like that. They're getting to a very competitive roster, it feels like to me.
Yeah, I was starting to get a little bit antsy. Like, I want to see some movement in the portal from Jerome Tang. And this is basically as good as you can get. I mean, he was, I think at the time of his commitment over the weekend, was the second best transfer left in the portal, I believe, if memory serves correct. And they had been linked to a lot of different players. I mean, think back to like LJ Cryer was somebody that had visited Manhattan. Max Asmus had visited Manhattan, and he was considering Kansas State. Ernest Uday had been linked to K-State, and they hadn't gotten any one of those players. They've got Arthur Kaluma, who was a big-time player with Creighton, and you mentioned kind of the Keontae Johnson replacement. That was the first thing I thought of was, okay, well, cool. Like, this is kind of the new Keontae Johnson for Kansas State. So all in all, this is a big-time get for Jerome Tang. This really helps round out the starting lineup when you've got him and Tyler Perry who can shoot the three, and Naquan Tomlin is back. You would think that David Gasson is probably going to have a more expanded role next season too for Kansas State. Cam Carter also on that roster. So I like that signing. I think that that's a good fit for Kaluma to go to K-State. And at this point, I think Tang has got himself a pretty solid roster.
CBSSports.com has Kaluma ranked 13th, Perry ranked 12th in their transfer rankings. So that is a nice, handful of players. West Virginia's had a nice portal year. Houston's had a really interesting portal year. This is going to be really, really, really difficult to follow until we just see teams. And that's okay, right? Like that. I know that's unnerving, and we may not like it tremendously, but I think we're just not used to it, Tommy. Like, we have so much expectation. I just always have to go back to like, was anybody less, excited about the college basketball season last year than any other year? Because I don't think so. And I think at the bottom, at the end of it, you just got to see how your team plays and if they're good. Look at how quickly K-State was on board with this team last year, and in selling out. Or they didn't know anything about anybody except for Ish Massoud and Naquan Tomlin. Sorry, not Naquan Tomlin, Marquise Noel. And we didn't know a whole lot about them. We obviously didn't know how good Noel was going to be, and people were on board with it. So I think we just, you got to get there. You see the team play. I think they've got the makings of a pretty talented group here. You've got a guy that's on NBA radars with Tomlin, and then these two transfers coming in, a really talented freshman class. And I think they do need a piece or two still out of the portal that they'll go get. And again, listen, I've been the one sounding the alarm here a little bit for K-State. Like, we got to see something here. Well, we're seeing it now. I mean, we've seen it twice now. And Tomlin coming back was, I think, the biggest piece of news they were going to get all offseason anyway. So you add that with the freshman class, I think you go find yourself, some handy, experienced players, now that don't have to be headline guys, and you feel pretty good about it.
We talked to Tim Fitzgerald on Thursday about Naquan Tomlin returning to K-State and coming out of the draft, going back to Kansas State, and what sort of impact he can bring to the Wildcats next season. And, I think that he's got an opportunity to, really showcase his game. I think he got some probably really good feedback going through the draft process on what he's got to work on if he wants to take his game to the next level. And I want to see that translate into, a more impact player at the college and the college ranks next season for Kansas State. So, yeah, they've got some big time transfers now with Kaluma and Perry. But I really am looking at Tomlin as a guy that can take that next big step forward next season for Kansas State.
He will. I don't know what that next step is, though, as a college basketball player. I mean, he's going to get better, I think. But for him, it's always been about like this, what could be or what might be. I don't know what that translates to. It probably, honestly, it probably translates in a best case scenario to something that's sort of similar to what we saw to Keontae Johnson last year. But Keontae Johnson was a far more seasoned player with a very different body type. So is Naquan Tomlin capable of that? I'm not sure. But the role is certainly there. And I don't know if that's what he's best suited for. I think we still have to see that. What is he going to be best suited for? But I know now that 3/5 of their starting lineup is going to be pretty dang good.
Yeah.
And they have some freshmen, and if those guys mix in, and remember, we're talking about freshmen now of a caliber that K-State hasn't seen a lot of. We're talking about blue chippers. So, think of it more in line with what you see at Kansas, right? Can freshmen step into one or two roles in a starting lineup? That's sort of what you look at with K-State, with the caliber of guys that they were able to bring in, remember, last year, that are coming in as freshmen now.
Are we looking at a Kansas State roster, do you think, that could compete for a Big 12 championship? I mean, we know where Kansas is. We know they brought in Hunter Dickinson, and they've got they're more than likely going to be the preseason number one in America. So with the addition of Arthur Kaluma now at Kansas State, does that get you over the edge that they can be competing for a Big 12 championship?
Here's what I'll say. Yes, maybe, but you got to remember, Kansas is going to be a prohibitive favorite. Texas added Asmus and should be really good. Baylor and Houston have sort of just traded players around. So I think they'll both all still be really good, but maybe a little bit different. And West Virginia's added some dudes, man. And so I don't know. Yes, I think they can be competitive. I think we should expect them to be a top half team. I don't know that anybody's going to be considered a favorite ahead of Kansas with the way things have fallen for them this offseason. But yeah, I could see it for sure. I think the Big 12's can be really good again, though. I don't know. The planets aligned last year. Does that happen twice? I think you have to build in just a tiny bit of regression there. You did lose 2 All-Americans. So even if these guys are really, really good, you lost 2 All-Americans.
Yeah.
I think that they can compete for the top of the Big 12. I'm not sure if I'm ready to say, yeah, they'll be in the mix for a Big 12 title, because I think the league looks really good again. And I just think Kansas has had such a good offseason. It's hard to put anybody in there over Kansas.
I do think another point in this entire Arthur Kaluma transfer storyline that is really important that we haven't talked about is the fact that Jerome Tang and Kansas State beat out Kentucky for the services of Arthur Kaluma. And so I think NIL plays a role in that for sure. I think the coach, going and playing for Jerome Tang over John Calipari, that maybe had something to do with it as well. But I don't think that, I don't think you can overstate the importance of the fact that you've got a high caliber transfer in Arthur Kaluma committing to play for a program like Kansas State over a blue blood like Kentucky. And I don't know if that tells you more about Kansas State and what Jerome Tang has built there, or more about Kentucky losing out, on a guy like Kaluma. And so I think that that's an important part of this entire story as well, that now we've got a situation, and there's an example of it now where Kansas State can hang and recruit in the transfer portal with big time programs like Kentucky.
Kentucky's got a weird class. Kentucky's still so freshman heavy. It's not going to work in today's basketball. Did you know, as we just look at these rosters and teams, did you know Kirk Creesa transferred to West Virginia? Arizona.
No, I remember hearing about that. Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much of this where you're like, wait, what? Who did what? I don't know what to make of it. it's going to be hard to follow. And I think all we can do is look at the teams that we follow, closely and say, net gain, net loss, right? Are they better in this spot than they were last year, or are they worse if you just try? So Kansas State, I don't think they're going to do anything in the portal that you sit there and say net gain, right? When you lose 2 All-Americans.
Yeah.
So I think that's but also I think the rest of the roster could be better. So it certainly won't be as top heavy. It certainly could be more, it certainly could be deeper than it was a year ago. What does that mean to wins and losses? Don't know, because it's again, everything fell Kansas State's way last year. So I don't think you can count on that by any means. So then you have to say, okay, well, how do you replace all the production from those 2 guys? I don't think, singularly these 2 transfers, Perry and Kaluma, will do that, because I don't think they're as good of players. But I do think them with some, increased production out of Tomlin and perhaps some freshmen that we haven't seen play at all yet stepping up, I think there's a chance K-State's as good. Do they make a Final Four run? That's always unfair, right? Like, you can't look at it that way. But you just look at it, kind of look back to the regular season and say, will next year's team have a chance to be as good as last year's team? I think they're close. I'm not ready to put them there yet. But yeah, I think they're close.
It's kind of like with KU, they lose Jalen Wilson and Grady Dick. And then if you don't get Hunter Dickinson, then it's hard to say that it's a net gain, of an offseason. They get Hunter Dickinson. I think you can then say, all right, this is kind of a net gain in the offseason.
Well, yeah,
for the
Jayhawks.
Jayhawks.
Color back, right?
Yeah. Exactly, right. And then on the flip side with Kansas State, you lose Noel, you lose Johnson, and you're replacing them, for lack of a better term, replacing them with Tyler Perry and now Arthur Kaluma. I think it might be. I don't want to say it's a wash, because those were 2 All-Americans and Perry and Kaluma aren't quite at that level, but I do think that they've got the overall players now where they can feel more confident in, saying, okay, we've got ourselves a fairly complete roster now. We can go and compete.
Keontae Johnson was an All-American caliber player when he came in. Marquise Noel wasn't, right? Marquise Noel, remember, Nigel Pack left and everybody was panicking.
Yeah.
And Marquise Noel came in increased production on one of the Big 12's best players. So anything's possible in a new opportunity. And I think that these guys are going to come in and be given an opportunity to improve. And I think you got to consider that too, because the staff through 1 year did that for just about everybody on the roster. Almost all the players that came in got better under this staff. So I think you can bake some of that in there too. And I think you see probably a higher floor and a lower ceiling. And that's not bad. For KU, yeah, you lose Grady Dick, you lose a lottery pick, and you lose Jalen Wilson, one of the, the all-time great KU players. But you can see a path where the team is better, which is crazy, but it is, right? Because they do replace the production, and the roster just makes more sense. So I think there's all kinds of different ways. And then take Wichita State, for example. That's a total rebuild, right? Like that, we're starting all the way over for them. But I think we've been pretty pleased with what's coming in. I just think it's going to be really difficult until you see teams. Now, I do think you can get a gauge on it pretty quickly. I do think we've learned that over the last 2 or 3 years of the transfer portal era. Like, you can see it, not right away, but pretty soon, right? For a lot of these teams, like, yep, this is going to work, or, oh boy, that's not a good mix. Like, there's going to have to be some work done there. But K-State gets the big one. One of the biggest players remaining in the portal. It really helps solidify a class now, and I think ease some tension. We'll certainly have more on that later this week with Tim Fitzgerald, but a sigh of relief for K-State fans here today. And there's still some players out there, I think, that can move the needle for sure. 869-1240 is the number to call. We'll come back. We'll continue to play catch-up here. We'll look ahead to the NBA Finals as well. Got to get some thoughts on this LIV, because Tommy and I have not talked off the air yet about thoughts on this LIV PGA Tour merger. Tommy's a big golf guy. I'm less of a golf connoisseur in that way, but I have overall thoughts on what this might mean just in general terms. But we'll get into all of that. Your calls on the IHOP hotline, 869-1240. We'll have more Sports Daily coming right at you.
NFL Love Mornings with Bob and Tom on 97.5 and 1240 KFH, Wichita's most listened to sports radio. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by Forever Long.
There's never been a better time to save big on brand name furniture and mattresses than right now during Crazy J's huge $1 million inventory liquidation sale. Living room, dining room, and bedroom groups, mattress sets, bunk beds, and so much more. All 50% off store-wide while supplies last. No exclusions. Shop early while selection is best. Open 7 days a week at 1026 South Oliver or west at 604 North Tyler. Wichita's favorite furniture store since 1997. Crazy J's Furniture and Sleep Shop.
The safest deal in town.
Who makes your first impression all it can be? Pave the way.
Are you looking to replace or repair your pavement or perhaps install a new driveway or parking lot? Call Pave the Way, the pavement professionals at 316-990-5855 today for a fast free estimate for all your asphalt and concrete needs, or visit them online at pavethewayusa.com.
Pave the way. Kicking asphalt every day.
I'm Ben Winters. I'm not an actor. I'm an attorney. Really. If you've been hurt in a wreck, don't make the mistake of assuming insurance companies are on your side. They're not. That's why you need the best representation in Wichita. And according to the Wichita Eagle, Patterson Legal Group is the best law firm in town. We've recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for our clients. In a wreck, need a check? Call us today.
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Get 11% off everything at Menards. We offer the lowest prices with the largest in-stock appliance selection, ready to take home today. With the best appliance brands including KitchenAid, Maytag, Whirlpool, Amana, and Criterion. Get a refrigerator, oven, microwave, and dishwasher with the fingerprint-resistant stainless steel Whirlpool appliance suite and save over $2,400 after 11% rebate at Menards. Good through June 18th. Savings or mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey everyone, Boomer Esiason here, and for a championship team, every player needs to be a perfect fit. It's just like your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts or accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time. Just look for the green check. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. So get the right parts, the right fit, at the right prices at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Summer's heating things up, outside and on the grill. Whether you're smoking a brisket or grilling up veggies, Kingsford Original Charcoal delivers the consistent performance and smoky wood-fired flavor barbecuers crave. Kingsford Original lights faster and has a long burn time, giving you the ultimate grilling experience. So grab a bag of Kingsford Original Charcoal. Kingsford.com. Kingsford Original Charcoal lights faster and delivers consistent performance compared to nationally available charcoal in the USA.
At IHOP, we have delicious food sizzling on the griddle day and night. Introducing 2 new all-natural Black Angus Ultimate Steak Burgers, the Bourbon Bacon Jam topped with hickory smoked bacon, and the Jalapeno Kick topped with a crunchy 4-cheese crisp. At IHOP, when you get one of our 6 Ultimate Steak Burger combos on your plate, you also get a smile on your plate. Try all 6 Ultimate Steak Burger combos served with fries and a fountain drink starting at only $9 for a limited time. Only from IHOP. Bundle offer for a limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Restrictions apply.
Yingling Aviation is a leader in the aviation industry in Wichita and around the world. We're innovating, leading, and hiring A&P mechanics and more. Receive up to a $2,500 sign-on bonus, competitive pay, health, dental, vision, and life insurance, 401k, paid vacation, and more. We offer a family atmosphere, creative culture, and the opportunity to advance in your career. Join the Yingling Aviation team and grow with us. All positions apply online today at yinglingaviation.com while openings are still available.
An anniversary is a very special occasion.
something that you will remember and celebrate year after year. Mike Seltzer Jewelers has been celebrating anniversaries of all kinds since 1950. Once a year during Mike Seltzer's anniversary sale, he marks down almost everything in the store. Now through the end of June, you can save up to 50% off rings, earrings, necklaces, and bracelets. Save up to 50% off. Visit Mike Seltzer Jewelers at 2929 North Rock Road and view the best quality and largest selection of jewelry in Wichita. Now, if you need help with financing, Mike can help with that too. Don't wait and let another year go by. Take advantage of the huge 50% off savings now. For more information, visit MikeSeltzerJewelers.com or stop by the store. Mike Seltzer's Jewelers, 2929 North Rock Road in the Coma Terrace Shopping Center. Remember, 50% off. Don't miss this sale at Mike Seltzer Jewelers.
Hurry, sale ends June 30th.
It's Toppers Plus Truck Accessories 25th Anniversary Event, June 16th and 17th. Visit our new 20,000 square feet location at 333 Northwest Street. Anniversary specials, register to win prizes and giveaways. Friday night, car show and barbecue 4 to 8 p.m. Saturday, food trucks, bouncy houses, overlanding vendor expo, and concert featuring the Dirty Gentlemen. Toppers Plus 25th Anniversary, Friday, June 16th and Saturday, June 17th. 333 Northwest Street or toppersplusks.com.
Make a truck work for you.
Our employees at Don Linger Construction are the reason why we are a leader in our industry.
I like working for Don Linger Construction because there's a new experience every day.
Don Linger Construction is now hiring positions in and around the Wichita area. We're employee-owned and offer competitive weekly pay and benefits. Quick start your new career and join our growing team. Apply online at donlinger.biz. That's DONDLINGER.biz. Don Linger Construction is an EEO-compliant employer. Veterans, women, and minorities are encouraged to apply.
Celebrate your birthday at Hook & Reel Cajun Seafood Restaurant. Enjoy a free birthday boil, including your choice of seafood and sauce with corn, potatoes, and cheesecake. Get the details and eat for free on your birthday at Hook & Reel at Towney Square, Kellogg, and Rock.
Shocker basketball has turned the page to a new era with head coach Paul Mills now at the helm. Coach Mills looks forward to continuing the winning tradition of Wichita State basketball and knows we have to do it together with your help. Join Shocker Nation in Charles Koch Arena for the 2023-24 season by purchasing your season tickets now. Call the Shocker ticket office at 316-978-FANS and join the fight for Wichita with head coach Paul Mills. That's 316-978-FANS.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888. That's 888-8888. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Daily, hour number 2 coming at you here as we play catch-up from a couple of weeks off between Tommy and I bouncing around. Appreciate Paul Savage stepping in the last couple of weeks and being a part of the show as always. You can, too, on the IHOP hotline. 869-1240 is the number to call, whether you're listening to us right here on KFH or whether you're watching us on our video streams, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We've got you covered in both places as we get into now the real summer, and that means, you know, golf becomes a big part of it and all the posturing. We got a merger, Tommy. It surprised us all. But this thing has always been weird to me because, like, you get this, like, posturing and, you know, I almost never believe when, and maybe this is just from what I do for a living, and you know what I've done for a living the last 20 years, and you know when you're a journalist, you sort of have to take everything and doubt it a little bit, which it goes against my personal nature, but it gets ingrained into you. Like, I don't know about all that. The PGA Tour trying to like sell a moral stance on the LIV Tour never sat with me, right? Because you have so many sponsors on the tour that are tied in with the same group you're trying to paint in whatever way. And I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, most of the time in big business and in the corporate world, anything that you see from a moral standpoint is trying to still increase the bottom line, right? Like whatever, whatever it is, whether you're trying to show support for something, or you change a logo of something to show this, that, or the other, it's most of the time it's so that you can make more money, right? It's like it's not a gimmick, but it's like a marketing arm almost. And so when the LIV tour came in, and it gets a little confusing on how the PGA Tour operates, because it's not like the other sports leagues and all of these things. The morality angle that they were trying to sell to me seemed desperate, not because it was the wrong stance to take. Again, that's not what I'm saying, but because I just never really believed it in the first place. Now, I believed it from some individual players. I think that was more genuine. But from a league standpoint, you get money from the place through other sponsorships that you say you don't think should be getting. And that's why all of this is just like, meh. Like, it doesn't surprise me at all. I understand why it happened. But you can't, this is why you should, like, businesses to me don't have any business trying to do those things, because you never know what hand is going to feed you. And so now we sit here, and it's laughable to listen to this morality tour for the last year, then just to merge and give more power to the people you're trying to sell us on being evil, whatever. It's like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? Like, either take your stand or don't. And by the way, you don't have to take a stand. You're a business. Take care of your business. I don't sit here and look to the PGA Tour for like, I wonder what I should think about this hot, political issue or, societal issue. You know who I'm going to get a good take from? Bud Light or the PGA Tour. That's what, hey, kids, everybody gather around. Let's see what Visa has to say about this. Like, come on. Like, nobody cares. And so now we get into this situation where the PGA Tour's like, oh, crap, we're never going to beat these guys in court. Like, well, now what do we do? And here we go. We merge with a big evil, whatever, the LIV Tour. And it's like, come on.
I'm almost more mad at myself than I am at the PGA Tour, because unlike you, I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I bought the morality piece of it when it came down, and I was, fully on board with the PGA Tour's crusade, and this is evil, and the folks behind the Live Tour in Saudi Arabia, they're trying to sports wash and all of this stuff. I bought it because I felt like there were passionate people behind it. I thought Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour at the time, was incredibly passionate about the morality behind it. And I thought, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. And I felt like they were talking about the fact that the Live Golf Tour was threatening the traditions and the legacy and, the storied history of the PGA Tour and all of that. And then you've got guys like Rory McIlroy speaking out against it. And I looked at the individual golfers who were taking the money, and I was upset with them. Phil Mickelson, I had grown up. He was one of my favorite golfers, if not my favorite golfer when I was a kid, because I'm left-handed and he's left-handed. I loved him, and I couldn't stand Phil after he took that money. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And why I'm mad at myself about it is that I work in marketing. My title is marketing. That's what I do for a living. And I didn't catch on to it. I didn't wise up to the fact that the PGA Tour, they were lecturing everybody about morality, and really it was about money and revenue the entire time. And when they realized that there was going to be a protracted legal battle where they were going to have to pay attorneys for months, if not years, for any kind of resolution, and it was going to be sunk money, they were like, you know what, if you can't beat them, join them. Let's go ahead and accept the money that we've been rallying against for the last 2 years plus. I'm mad at myself, I think, more than anything else, because I actually believe the crap that the PGA Tour was spouting for the last 2 years.
When did the NFL take an interest in player safety, Tommy?
After the movie Concussion came out, I believe.
Right. When they had to, when it was going to affect their bottom line, right? When did Major League Baseball care about steroids? Because it certainly wasn't during steroid use when it benefited the game.
Yeah, when they started getting some public pressure on them to address it, that's when they started to care about it.
So you always have to it's always about the money. Always, always, always. And I'm not because these are businesses, and businesses are designed to be about the money. When you see whatever, fast food company run a commercial about whatever it is that is trying to be put a spotlight on that, for that month or whatever it is, don't ever they don't care about that stuff, right? They're just doing what they think is going to make them more money. And so that's always got to be at the core of this. And again, I'm not knocking that fact. It's a capitalist country. We live in America, and your business is trying to make more money. But it's always, I always shake my head, and I don't even know because I'm not up to, I can't think of the term for it. Whatever, when everybody's trying to just take advantage of what's cool. It is a marketing arm to try to pretend like you care about these things. And this is an issue like the NFL faces. Do you think the NFL really cares about social justice when you still, a black coach still has so much a harder time to get a job in high positions in the league? What do we, and I'm not, and that's not a simple process either. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying sometimes you got to step back. And I said this from the beginning with this LIV stuff, guys, these companies that sponsor the PGA Tour are this same monetary fund out of Saudi is invested in a ton of these companies. So what's the difference here? Because you can't, sometimes you can't draw those lines because you don't even know where the lines go anyway. This monetary fund in Saudi Arabia is about 1 billion times bigger than the PGA Tour, right? It's a much bigger, if you want to get into the morality and everything, you're not achieving anything by playing golf. That's not going to solve the issues that come with this foreign entity, sometimes enemy, having its money and hands all over so many things in this country. Is that the PGA Tour's obligation? They can't comprehend that anyway. So, okay, now we've got this merger. The concern shouldn't be that. The concern should be, all right, what if these guys decide they want to come in and own an NFL team? We can be okay with that?
Right.
What if these guys, because they've become heavily invested in pro wrestling now, we know they're heavily invested in golf. They're heavily invested in soccer, the biggest international game. The NFL
auto
is not
racing,
that
I think they're pretty involved in auto racing too, I believe.
Auto racing. I mean, the next big one would be basketball, right? Yep. What if they come at an NBA? Because that's an international game. Baseball's a little different. It's international, but not in the places I think that they care about. And if it is sports washing, which very well could be, I don't know how that's where you need to aim your concern to lawmakers and what they need to do. If there really is a big issue with this, and there very well could be, and maybe is, it's not going to be the PGA Tour's job to fight this war against a foreign adversary. If that's the way Saudi Arabia needs to be painted, that's not golf's job, right? Yeah. That's not what they're there to do. Golf's job is to be relevant and, try to increase its business. Now, I think that the merger here, I do agree with. The PGA Tour didn't have much of a choice, it doesn't sound like, legally. And that's something that I don't know what the best case scenario could have been, because if you can't survive legally, which is unfortunately the way, this happens a lot of time when you have big, mountains of money that you're fighting against. How often do we see settlements with no admission of guilt? We're going to settle for $8 billion, but we're not admitting guilt. Okay. Why are you settling for $8 billion then? Right. So, that at that point, to me, it's not even about golf. It's how did we let golf, this American, PGA Tour, get strong-handed like this? And how do we prevent that potentially from happening again? That's what's at play here. The PGA Tour doing what it had to survive. I mean, it just doesn't surprise me at all. And again,
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me that Monahans would do this. It doesn't surprise me any of it. I applaud any players that have taken a stance that they've taken from a personal standpoint. I think that's about all the players can do, is to try and set an example that way. But it was never the PGA Tour's job to give us a morality lesson on Saudi Arabia. Like that,
Right.
it's irresponsible and it's unfair to the tour, really, because what are you supposed to do?
And it's virtue signaling. I mean, that's what we've been able
That's the
to, I
one
think,
I was trying to think of.
identify this, looking back on it, hindsight is 2020, and hearing Jay Monahan talk out of both sides of his mouth. And that was the mistake he made, was, and to your point, is really clinging on to the morality piece of it, as opposed to just being straight up from the beginning saying, this is going to hurt our business model. And so how do we combat this, from a financial point of view? Because if you are a fan of PGA Tour golf, regardless of where the money is coming from a renegade secondary league, regardless of any of that, take the morality out of it, this hurts the PGA Tour's business model. And so if you love the PGA Tour in the way that it is, and if you are a fan of the history and the legacy and the tradition and all of that, then we need to battle this from a business point of view, because it threatens our business model. As far as the players are concerned, I feel bad for the players who took up a stand and sided with the morality piece of it that the PGA Tour was claiming, because they just got sold out down the river. The players that turned down the money, you've got guys like Phil and Bryson and Brooks and Dustin and all these guys taking large sums of money. They get to keep that money, right? And now you've got the guys that turned down hundreds of millions of dollars, and here we are, they're merging and they don't get a dime. Like, I feel bad for them for turning down that money for whatever reason they decided to turn it down. And now all of a sudden they're merging anyway. We had Sam Stevens on the show on Friday, and I asked him about the PGA and Live merger. And, he mentioned that from a competitive point of view, he believes, and I think a lot of the PGA Tour golfers believe, that it's better to have all the best players in the world playing together. And I agree with that. I think that was the biggest thing for me when, these players left and went to Live. Well, now you're not going to get to see Brooks and Bryson and, the top players in the world playing against the top PGA Tour players in the world outside of a handful of majors, and so I do agree with Sam that it's important to make sure that we've got all these guys playing together as often as possible, because that's the best way that golf as a global sport will survive.
We need to know, and I don't know if he's spoken about it, I haven't seen it, what Tiger Woods thinks. And Rory McIlroy, who's been the most public, Rory has as this banner carrier. Are they still going to be able to, to do the things and say the things that they felt from the beginning, even despite this merger? I don't know. And they were company men, right? Like, too. I don't know where it falls into being a company man or being or taking this stand. That's a hard line to draw. And there's, by the way, nothing wrong with being a company man for those guys for the PGA Tour. It's been their livelihood for a long time. And I'm sure they don't want to see a rival company come in, but they turned down a lot of money, to take that stand. And I don't know how the PGA is ever going to make that right for these guys, for the players that did leave and are now going to be back. I mean, I don't know if they can somehow fine the players that left into a general pool that gets distributed out to players that didn't leave. I don't know how they're going to do that. But, they're going to have to probably do something. It just, I think, one, the PGA model is so weird anyway. This is a weird left turn, right? But sometimes, like, all the attention and things are not good. I think as much as anything, this wacky model the PGA Tour operates in was exposed to some degree, and that was used against them. It's the same reason I keep shaking my head at, the NCAA poking a governmental bear on trying to do things, because their model is not the right way to do things, and it's not good, and it's not legal probably, and you just keep poking that bear and something bad's going to happen. Let the PGA teach you that lesson. You keep poking these bears and something bad's going to happen. You've got this now black eye publicly because you kept poking this bear, trying to convince everybody that, this big evil entity was creeping in and we can't let that happen. And then you took your first opportunity. Like, you can't do that. And
I do think that it's time for us collectively in this country and as sports fans to have a little bit of a reckoning and understand. I mean, to your point, you mentioned it before. What happens if the Saudi government wants to buy an NFL team? You know, what happens if they want to come in and get into the NBA? We've heard about international expansion potentially for the NFL. What happens if Saudi Arabia wants to buy a team? And it's not just actual individual sports franchises. What if I'm just going to throw this out there. What if they decide that they want to buy DraftKings? What if they decide that they want to buy the NCAA, the entire body? I mean, they could, if the price is right. I mean, they've got billions and billions of dollars where the money is never going to be a factor, right? If they want it, they can go and get it.
Dollars that is growing. I mean, basically, they're savvy stock market investors, from the way I understand it. So this wealth is just going to keep growing exponentially. No different than any American company that, you know, the rich get richer, right? And so, yeah, that's where you have to look at this. Don't put it on golf to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put it on the NBA to solve a problem when it inevitably comes. Don't put it on XYZ. Now that's where, you know, we have lawmakers for a reason. If you don't want that foreign influence, don't let them in. Don't allow it. Make a law against it. Sorry, guys. Yep, you got to be an American to own whatever. But I don't know how you even do that, Tommy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because there's so many foreign influences in companies, right? Companies all across the country have foreign influence. Everyone, you know, this beer thing that's happened with Bud Light, right? Like, but that company's owned by somebody else, right? That's not an American company
anymore. Some international conglomerate, you know, owns
that.
And so I wonder. So when I say that there should be a reckoning, what I mean by that is that there needs to be a heavy conversation about whether or not we are okay with this. And if we're okay with it, then I guess let it happen. If we're not okay with it, why? Are we not okay with it because of the morality piece of it that Jay Monahan tried to argue that didn't work from the PGA perspective? Or are we not okay with it because of what the financial ramifications on it? Or do we just end up saying, you know what, if they've got the money and they want to buy it, let them in?
Well, yes, I think there's a morality piece to this. And again, I don't want to downplay the moral issues that have been brought up here because I think they're very valid. I just think whose responsibility is it to champion those causes? I don't think it's, you know, it's the pro sports league. I don't think it's some Hollywood actor's job to police the morality in this country. Like, we have to decide what our standards are, and we have to make laws to help those standards exist. And so, yeah, I don't know what the answer is because companies are, and would you care, right? Like if it's a country we don't have a moral issue with, right? Like what if some British dude wanted to buy an NFL team? Would you care? Where is that line and how do you draw it? Like, are we designated? Because we do plenty of business as a government with Saudi Arabia, right? Like we do it all the time. So I don't know. I again, don't look to me to provide your morality. I don't know. What I'm saying is don't be fooled by any of this when you see leagues or companies try and pretend like they're championing these. No, they're not. If you are, put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yep.
Like,
and I'll tell you right now that that's the last time that I ever believe, you know, any professional sporting organization that tries to, you know, tell me that something is not right for moral reasons. Because I mean, I'll be the first to admit I was naive and I believed Jay Monahan and I believed, you know, the fact that they were trying to champion this moral reason as to why live golf is fundamentally wrong because of a moral and ethical reason, not because it hurts their business model, but because they really took the side of, you know, this is morality. Jay Monahan this was exactly a year ago, was on with Jim Nantz on a CBS broadcast and point blank said, addressing the golfers on national TV, saying, have you ever had to apologize for playing on the PGA Tour? And a year later, they merge and they take the money. So I'm never going to believe any single sports organization or franchise or whatever that comes on with a moral, like, virtue signal. This is how you need to believe. Because, yeah, I mean, like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Tommy, not just sports franchise, any company. Like, if you decide what beer to drink based on what, you know, what banner they put on their email signature that month or whatever. Like, you're going to be disappointed more often than not. Like, it's a weird place to go. And it's always why I'm so shocked when companies allow people to decide, you know what, it's a good idea for us to take a stand on a hot political issue.
Yeah.
Why do you feel the need to do that as an apparel company? Like, Nike's a big sponsor of everything, right? In golf. Like, so you're not okay with one moral component, but you want that logo, which is, been largely produced in sweatshops of your foreign adversary for years and years and years. Like, we're okay with that though? Like, why are you trying to take moral stances? Because you can't have, like, there are moral issues all over the place where money comes from. And I thought, like, as soon as I saw this, that the first thing I thought of were these apparel companies, right? These apparel companies, you want to talk about morals. Like, you got sweatshops with kids working in foreign countries where nobody gets paid, and that means no American jobs and like all this. Like, where are we going to draw these lines, and how do we even go about that?
Yeah.
Like, you can't have it both ways. You can take that as an individual. You can choose what, clothes to wear, shoes to buy, or beer to drink, or whatever. But trying to, like, champion them as a company, I've never understood that concept.
We very, very rarely in this country have a desire to see how the sausage is made, right? Like, we just want the sausage,
Yeah.
And so, and I get it. I understand that. I would rather be oblivious to the horrors and the atrocities that go on behind the scenes, because nothing is ever as pretty as it's portrayed, right? And so that's why, again, looking back on this, hindsight 2020, I wish they would have never taken the moral path with the PGA Tour, because that invited the conversation about seeing how the sausage is made, right? And it opens the door to a lot of other things. Again, if Jay Monahan had just said, this does not help our bottom line, and that's the reason why we are against
this
that.
is bad for our, and we think it's bad for the game too,
Right.
by the way.
Okay,
Here's why we
cool.
don't like this.
Right.
They're going to take away some of the best players and prevent all the best players from playing together. That's a problem for us. We also don't like the way they treat golf. We think that's a problem too.
As soon as you crack open the door to morality, it invites people to kick it down and start pulling out all of the other things that are behind the scenes, in the shadows, in the closet, pulling out the skeletons that people don't really want to see. And now the PGA Tour and Jay Monahan, the commissioner, they look like massive hypocrites. And you know what? They are.
Well, they are. Yeah, they totally are. And again, this isn't some new revelation. I don't know, because I don't follow it this way, but I've been saying this from the very beginning. Like, are we taking this moral stand? Because, and I had the same, like, internal polls, like, how do you take this one and not all the others? And why is it golf's job to do that? Maybe it should be, maybe it shouldn't be. But I think you're going to be disappointed 100% of the time. You think that these businesses are operating in morality. They're operating, for shareholders and bottom lines and livelihoods and all of these things. That's how it works. So, good luck if you want to keep trying to, see which companies are championing what cause. Just follow where the money is, where the mouth is. You want to see a company, if they really care about something, are they supporting it financially, right? Are they doing those things? That's how you'll know. It doesn't matter what kind of patch they put on their uniform sleeve. That doesn't tell you anything. That tells you they're trying to sell more jerseys. Where do they invest their money? Where do they give back to these communities? That's how you'll know. That's how you'll know if they really care. 869-1240 is the number to call. Another item of catch-up there. Checked off the list, the LIV PGA Tour merger. We'll continue on this path because we got to get into the NBA Finals. We got a Game 5 tonight that's a potential clincher. It's been an interesting finals, certainly. We'll do that as we make our way through a sports daily here. It's Albracht and Castor reunited, and it feels so good. We'll be right back.
Your phone call is welcome. 869-1240. Sports Daily on 97.5 and 1240. KFH, Wichita's #1 sports talk radio.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. Cut up six-pack rings and reduce your use of plastic to keep it out of waterways and oceans. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
This is Kevin Arkin from the Eric Profit Scholarship Golf Tournament, inviting you to support our Northwest seniors by playing in or sponsoring at this year's event at Rolling Hills on June 19th. For more information, go to nwgrizzliesgolf.com, and we're glad Odyssey serves.
There's never been a better time to save big on brand name furniture and mattresses than right now during Crazy J's huge $1 million inventory liquidation sale. All in-stock items are 50% off store-wide while they last, no exclusions. Shop early while selection is best. Special financing available with instant approvals. Wichita's favorite furniture store since 1997. Crazy J's, open 7 days a week, east at 1026 South Oliver or west at 604 North Tyler.
The safest deal in town.
Dude, how's it hanging? I'm a roadie, okay? Well, technically, I'm a parking lot, but roadie sounds cooler, right? I've been here rocking, or make that land, for a long time. I'll be straight with you. I picked up a few scars over the years. A couple cracks over here, a little buckling over there. Ooh, check out this new pickup heading right for my biggest pothole. Kiss that trend and goodbye, pal. Whoa, rock and roll. It's good to know I still got it.
Is your parking lot a little too old to rock and roll? Give it a brand new face. Call Pave the Way for a fast, free estimate. 316-990-5855.
Baseball is in full swing. The free Odyssey app lets you listen to local coverage for the team you love, live stream your favorite sports radio station, or jump back and listen to the best segments on demand.
Don't forget we talk to the manager every Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Don't listen to some guy from the other side of the country tell you about your team. Live conversations for your local team, no matter where you are. Your season, your Odyssey. Get in the game and download the free Odyssey app today.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Next up, straight talk from Doug. Ever noticed that saying no offense is offensive? Like, no offense, but you're overpaying for your wireless. See? Offensive.
That's the Straight Talk talking. Get unlimited plans as low as $35 a month from Straight Talk on America's most reliable 5G network. Available at Walmart and Walmart.com. On the $35 plan, first 10 gigabytes data at high speed, then 2G speeds. Refer to the latest terms at StraightTalk.com based on most first place ranking group metrics. Second half 2022 assessments of 125 metros. Experiences vary, not an endorsement.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I think my battery's dead.
With free battery testing and charging, AutoZone is here to help.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
What if I need a new one?
We have the right batteries right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone,
And what if I don't know how to connect it?
No problem. We have a how-to for you at AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs. Granger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
It's time to get back to the sports talk.
All right, let's do this thing. Go!
Sports Daily is on KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It's Jacob Albracht, it's Tommy Castor, it's KFH, it's Sports Daily. Glad to be back with you here as we make our way through travel season, baby season, in some instances. It's been fun. It's been a fun couple of weeks with Paul Savage. We're just trying to play catch up on everything. We've had an NBA Finals here, and I don't know how interesting the finals have been necessarily, Tommy. They've gone pretty much how we expected them to. Denver's got a chance to close it out tonight. I'm not sure that I think that they will, but I think they certainly can. I think they're the better team. It's really, does Miami have enough in the tank to get another one? I don't know. The finals have been interesting. I was actually with a big Nuggets fan. My sister-in-law's husband is a huge Nuggets fan. So I watched game 2, which was the loss. And that was interesting. And now since then, we've had 2 cozy wins in Miami for Denver. They're back home now tonight, a chance to clinch it at home. 9-point favorites. Can Miami? I don't know that. I'll say the series is over. I don't think Miami's going to win this series, but can they win a game or 2 the rest of the way? I don't know. I think it's a hard angle to try to bet at 9 points. I think betting Jokic to be good tonight is probably the way to go, and maybe how I'll attack, but it's been good. I think the biggest storyline of this finals hasn't been the competitive nature of the series, because I was never too sure. To me, it's the Jokic legacy part of this, and the Nuggets like pondering of how good or how long they might be this good, because it doesn't seem like a one-off for Denver to me. It feels like this could be a repetitive thing for them. And for Jokic, Tommy, at this point in his career, and we talked about this, I've talked about this, I think, on the national shows on the weekend, and I think Savage and I got into this. Like, Jokic, if he gets this one, and let's say he gets 2 or maybe 3, is that going to solidify him? Because statistically, he'll be there probably. Is that going to solidify him as one of the all-timers in this sport if this trajectory continues?
Yeah, I think so. And I think going back to your initial question, can the Heat get another win in Denver? I think the answer is no. I think that the Nuggets win tonight. They win the series, 4-1. Denver has only lost 7 games at home the entire year. And the Heat already beat them once in Denver. Not going to happen again. I don't see that happening again. Game 2, I think, was an aberration. It was an anomaly, the way that the Nuggets played with a lack of effort and all of that. They bounced back for sure in games 3 and 4 in Miami. And I do think that what Jokic can do, with kind of a ho-hum triple-double, kind of come to expect that. Yeah, for sure. I think that does solidify his legacy. I think one title solidifies his legacy for sure. It wasn't that long ago that we were having discussions about if Jokic, if the Nuggets can't get it done with this group around Jokic, will they get it done at all? And would it be better for Jokic to go to another team? I think that, considering they're on the verge of an NBA title, I don't think Jokic is going to go anywhere. I think that he can solidify that legacy. I think they'll continue to be put in positions where they can win championships. And yeah, I think that the longer that this goes on and the more that we see Jokic on the national stage doing what he does with triple doubles left and right. And I said it last week with Paul, it's not the points and it's not the rebounds. It's the way he distributes the ball that I think is so remarkable with the way that he plays his game. There was a moment, I think in game 3, where he found Christian Brown with a beautiful pass where he passed up his own shot to give it to Brown. I think that is going to continue to solidify Jokic's legacy as one of the top all-time players.
Yeah, I do too. It's going to feel a little different because he is a little different than the guys we consider in that realm. Just because of his his demeanor and his style is so unique to what we know and are accustomed to. Like it's that, it's the cutthroat nature of Jordan that puts him there for most people. If people, love Kobe, that's why, right? Jokic he's just not perceived that way. And that's not fair because statistically he's doing things we literally have never seen before. And if you look at his MVP seasons, they're as good as anything some of the all-time greats have ever done. Now it becomes this question to me of longevity and how many does it take to get there, right? Does it need to be 3? I think that's probably the unfair, arbitrary number I would put on it, right? Like the difference to get you into that stratosphere would be 3. So can he get there? Yeah, I think he can because this roster's really good. And, Murray's there and their coach is really good and that, they're deep and they have young talent. You could bank on improvement like Christian Brown, who everybody's in love with. Right. And so I think there is a longevity piece to this for Denver for sure. But it's hard to do in the NBA. Denver's a perfect example of it because this is the first time of this generation of Nuggets that they've been able to get to this point relatively healthy. This has been a snake-bitten organization as far as that goes. So, and the other thing you have to bake into that is what if everybody, who's going to get better, right, in that as well? And can they overcome that? And I think that it's a really interesting time because it comes from a franchise who's never been there, which we saw that with Golden State, right? Golden State was able to do that, create this dynasty that had never been there before. But far too often it's the same cast of characters, right? It's Boston or it's the Lakers or, Miami comes to mind recently. Miami's consistently back there with different rosters, sort of like San Antonio has been. But I don't know. Jokic becomes the story for me in this series, which is, it was that way going in. And I think it's played itself out that way as he's been historically good in the series. I would count on him tonight. And that's, I'll just sort of, his PRA has been around 50, 51, 52. I'd probably just attack that again because that's been their ticket, right? When he's been great, they've been great in this series. And so I assume that's where it will head again tonight. Game 5. What is the tip time on that? Is it another 7:30? Yeah, 7:30 tip time. Can Denver get it closed out at home? I don't know. I don't even know if I care.
I think they will.
I kind of think I want them to because this doesn't feel like a series. I'm like, oh, just get the series extended because I don't think Miami's got a chance to win this series. Anyway.
And the thing about Miami too, to keep in mind, is that I mentioned this last week. Throughout the entire playoffs, they were playing with house money. Nobody expected them to be there, and they beat Milwaukee and then they beat New York and then they beat Boston. And now there are some expectations on their shoulders. And I don't think that they are faltering necessarily. I just think that reality has set in a little bit for Miami and their legs are tired. Jimmy Butler has looked exhausted. And I think it was actually Chelsea Messenger mentioned on Thursday that, he might be playing hurt, which I've not seen that anywhere else. But I think that things are starting to catch up to the Heat a little bit. It's been an incredible playoff stretch for them. There's no doubt about it, but reality has set in a little bit more. Going back to the Nuggets real quick, it's not only Jokic, because remember in game 3, not only did Jokic have a triple-double, Jamal Murray had a triple-double as well. And I mean, how often do we see 2 players on the same roster both having triple-doubles? And that's what happened. And so that's been the recipe for success for Denver all along. Not only Jokic doing his part, but having a really balanced attack with the rest of the starting lineup. I wonder, I posed this question to Paul before game 4. Is it worth having Christian Brown play extended minutes in the game, or is he better suited as kind of a spark plug kind of guy off the bench to come in, give you some energy, give you that
right
intensity
now or long
early
term?
on? Well, I think both. I think both, not only going into game 5, but also moving forward on this roster. Is it better to have him play extended minutes, maybe start? Michael Porter Jr. hasn't had a good playoff series at all, hasn't had a good NBA Finals at all. So would it be better to have Christian Brown play extended minutes, or is he better off the bench as that spark plug? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter. I mean, right now you just do whatever you can to win the game. I think long term, certainly more out of Christian Brown is a good thing. But yeah, there are certain guys, certain players that have thrived as sixth men. Maybe that's what his ultimate path is. I don't know. I don't know that we've ever looked at him and thought, yeah, this is going to be like a star player in the NBA. But that, look, nobody thought that about Fred VanVleet either. So sometimes guys with that kind of motor and attitude and swag, it just sort of works for them. Who would have thought that out of Austin Reeves, right? I think that I don't know that I think we can sit back and enjoy it because this role has been fun. And look, you may never get back to this point. You can't take anything for granted in the NBA. Look at Landry Shamet's a good example. I'm just thinking of local guys we've watched, right? Landry Shamet has been very similar to what we're seeing out of Christian Brown now. And Phoenix sort of turned on him this year a little bit. And he had some great moments in the postseason, but it's a tough business. It's a tough gig. So just sort of enjoy this one. And Christian Brown has absolutely had an impact on this team. Clearly, just listen to the way they talk about him. Whether it's there in the stat sheet or not, it's there on the practice court. It's there. Like they love it. It's energy. It's like he's a college basketball player playing in the NBA, right? Like it's jarring and shocking to see guys give that maximum effort like that because we don't always see that in the NBA. But that's why we like college basketball. That's why we love college basketball. It's almost like that's translated, and it's been fun to watch. But he and the Nuggets get that chance tonight, 7:30. The opportunity to knock it out. One more thing to catch up on here today on this Monday. It's a reaction Monday. Reaction sort of from the last couple of weeks almost. The Big 12, if you follow our buddy Tim Fitzgerald, Go Power Cat, he's sort of circling the end of this month, and the targets is Arizona, San Diego State, Colorado, and UConn. Let's just say that was the expansion. Is that enough for us? Do we like those 4 teams? Let's talk about that next. Sports Daily, Albracht, Castor, rolling along on a Monday.
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Hello, I'm Howard Mackler, founder of Innovation Refunds. You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. I'm so proud that we've helped over 15,000 businesses claim over $5 billion in cash incentives. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. Every client is assigned a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to accurately determine eligibility. Innovation Refunds has hundreds of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot and Google, and your business might be entitled to receive up to $26,000 per employee. Businesses of all types can qualify, including medical, professional, construction, even nonprofits. Please don't miss out on this. Even your doctor would tell you to get an expert second opinion, and we do a lot of work for doctors. Download the Innovation Refunds app now or go to getrefunds.com to potentially get a payroll tax refund of $26,000 per employee. Getrefunds.com. Getrefunds.com.
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
I'm attorney Ben Winters with Patterson Legal Group. After being hurt in a car wreck, you need to hire the right attorney. How do you find the right attorney? You look for one that has experience and, most importantly, results. Patterson Legal Group has recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for injured people. In a wreck, need a check? Call us today.
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
Yingling Aviation is a leader in the aviation industry in Wichita and around the world. We're innovating, leading, and hiring A&P mechanics and more. Receive up to a $2,500 sign-on bonus, competitive pay, health, dental, vision, and life insurance, 401k, paid vacation, and more. We offer a family atmosphere, creative culture, and the opportunity to advance in your career. Join the Yingling Aviation team and grow with us. All positions, apply online today at yinglingaviation.com while openings are still available.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
The Mike Seltzer Jewelers 50% off anniversary sale is going on now. Stop in the store today, 2929 North Rock Road. Mike has marked down almost everything in the store by 50%. Diamonds, rings, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, and more. Mike Seltzer Jewelers has the largest selection of fine jewelry in Wichita. Now is the time. Don't wait. Take advantage of the huge 50% off savings. But there's only one way to save. You have to get in the store by June 30th. Don't let another year go by. Mike Seltzer Jewelers, 2929 North Rock Road in the Comatera Shopping Center. 50% off anniversary sale. It ends June 30th. Financing is available. Mike Seltzer Jewelers, Wichita's jeweler since 1950. For more information, visit MikeSeltzerJewelers.com. Don't miss this sale.
Hurry, sale ends June 30th.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. June is the month to make your pet green by keeping them plastic free. When buying toys for your pet, look for toys made with natural materials like cotton, rope, wood, or bamboo. Even better, make toys out of old t-shirts, socks, or towels. Your dog or cat will love your upcycled toy just as much. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Not all water heaters are made equally. Some can be temperamental. Some can be unreliable and don't even think about what happens if you have neighbors downstairs.
Why is it raining inside my apartment?
Not with a Navien tankless water heater. You'll never run out of hot water. You only heat water when you need it, saving you tons in utility costs. Navien tankless water heaters. Visit tanklessmadesimple.com to learn more.
Turn your home into restricted airspace. Tell incoming flights you want them diverted. The new Raid Essentials Light Trap plugs into the wall and uses light to attract, then trap flying insects like fruit flies and mosquitoes. Its 24/7 continuous attraction provides insecticide-free protection that's people and pet friendly. Consider air service interrupted. New Raid Essentials Light Trap, insecticide-free protection.
The commercials are over.
Yo, I haven't got all day.
869-1240.
Time to get busy.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
Odyssey and KEYN are sponsors of the summer concerts on Fridays in Andover. So you've got Free Music Friday from 8 to 10. Concerts in the park are sponsored by IHOP. Andover Central Park at the Capitol Federal Amphitheater. If you haven't seen it, it's at 1607 East Central Avenue. It's a really great facility, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. So this Friday, you've got the Lou Brown Band. June 23rd is Across the Pond, and June 30th, Annie Up. July 7th will be Lucky People. Again, these are free outdoor concerts. Bring your lawn chairs, your blankets, extra cash for some of the food trucks out there. No coolers allowed. The gates will open at 6:30 again. The free music is from 8 to 10. It's concerts in the park sponsored by IHOP. This is a really cool thing if you haven't been out there. It's a fun outdoor event, fun outdoor venue. So check that out this summer as they make their way through, and we'll continue to mention those and get you that schedule throughout the weeks here. Some news, Tommy, during the break there, and this is an interesting thing as it pertains to Wichita State baseball. Mauricio Milan is back, right? Out of the portal and back for 2024. I think, too, and something we didn't mention that has been on my mind is let's see how that goes, too, because guys don't have to leave when they enter the portal. Let's see who comes back. Let's see some of that, because that's a big one. That's one of the bigger names that has gone. Will any of these guys buy back in and come back to Wichita State? I think certainly that highlights the need to watch that play out, too, because Mauricio Milan announces that he's back with the Shockers.
It's a big deal. And the more that we see this, the better it's going to be for Shocker baseball and for Brian Green. I mean, we talked at the top of the show about the intangible progress that I think we both saw from this squad this past season under Lauren Hibbs. And so the more that there can be those pieces coming back and building upon that, there may be a new leader and it may be a new look squad. But if you can have some pieces from last season that contributed to the small amounts of success that we saw, it doesn't have to be a total 100% rebuild. And so I know, like when we had Coach Green on the show on Thursday, he talked about the importance of going out and trying to get as many of the players that were in the portal as possible back on this team. And so there are a few of them so far. I think Milan makes 3, maybe. I think I saw a couple of announcements over the weekend of players that were coming back out of the portal. The more that Green can do this, the better it's going to be, I think, long-term for the Shockers.
So Mo is back, and just remember too that he came to Wichita State by way of a junior college. So that also is out there. I think, baseball can roster build pretty quick in that way too. So we'll keep our eye on that.
Green did that, by the way, a lot at Washington State. He built his teams through the junior college ranks.
And that's always been that way in college. I just remember from playing baseball in high school how many great players went to junior colleges, and you kind of looked at that at the time, but it's a very normal path. So that'll be there. All right, real quick, Tommy, and we'll get more into this tomorrow, I think. You've got Tim Fitzgerald sort of highlighting 4 teams as targets of the Big 12 with a deadline in there. Arizona, Colorado, UConn, and San Diego State. I love that list, and I look at it as much from a basketball standpoint as I do from a football standpoint. I think it's fine from a football standpoint. You get prime, right? And Arizona's been okay. UConn obviously doesn't provide much, and San Diego State's actually a good football program. I think they could take a next step in the Big 12. But man, the basketball, Tommy. UConn, San Diego State. So you get your 2 participants in the national championship game. Arizona, which I think most would consider a top 5 program nationally. And then you add Colorado, who's been okay in basketball, but you get prime there. That's a great place to start. And if that's all it ever is, I think that's a great way to round things out. Get West. You get West 2 more times, 3 more times. You get West 3 more times to sort of throw in with BYU, right? And I'm liking it. I'm liking that list, and I could see all 4 teams, gaining from a Big 12 edition. Certainly Colorado, UConn, and San Diego State. Arizona's always been linked to the Big 12, and maybe that's because they do put such an emphasis on basketball. But man, that would be a fun list to add to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I really, that list of those potential schools at that point, I'm good. Like I'm sold. Count me in. You've got the defending national champions in basketball with UConn. You've got a legacy program in basketball with Arizona. San Diego State made the Final Four. And then, oh, by the way, you've got Colorado football with Coach Prime. So at that point, I mean, I think that from a marketing point of view, Brett Yormark has, if he can land all 4 of them, absolutely solidified the Big 12 as must-see entertainment on both football and basketball. So I'm on board with all 4 of those schools. I'm a little bit surprised that San Diego State, not that the Big 12 would target San Diego State, but surprised that San Diego State would want to jump to the Big 12 as opposed to seeing what the Pac-12 has to offer. I understand the Pac-12 is in a lot of flux right now with what's going to happen with their media deal, but man, I'm on board with all 4 of those schools.
Yep, I am too. And it's if you think back, and I'm not talking about financially, because I don't think you'll ever recover from the financial loss of Texas and Oklahoma, but just from the standpoint of entertainment value and competitive, if you consider who's been brought in, from the AAC, and now if it were those 4 schools, like think about those 8 schools, would you trade those for Texas and Oklahoma? I think you might. I think so you can start to consider it. From basketball, you absolutely would. There's no question.
And I wonder, by the way, if Arizona becomes a legitimate target and a member potentially, is Arizona State on the table as well? Or do you separate those 2 schools? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either. It was curious to me to see them split up. I mean, that happens. Certainly Iowa and Iowa State are the easy example to look at of where that happens. But we'll have more on that with Fitz on Thursday, and we'll probably get more into that tomorrow as we look at, just some of the reports around the country on that deadline of the end of this month and those sorts of things. All right, I think we're caught up here. We're going to come back. We'll put a bow on this and get you ready for a Tuesday. It's all coming. Sports Daily, Albracht, Castor, coming right back.
Plug into powerful savings with 11% off ZeroWire products at Menards. ZeroWire is an American-owned leading manufacturer of building wire for residential, commercial, and industrial applications. Menards stocks convenient pre-cut lengths of ZeroWire products, making installation easier than ever. Get 11% off all ZeroWire products at Menards. Good through June 18th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
It's Toppers Plus Truck Accessories 25th Anniversary Event, June 16th and 17th. Visit our new 20,000 square feet location at 333 Northwest Street. Anniversary specials, register to win prizes and giveaways. Friday night, car show and barbecue 4 to 8 p.m. Saturday, food trucks, bouncy houses, overlanding vendor expo and concert featuring the Dirty Gentlemen. Toppers Plus 25th Anniversary, Friday, June 16th and Saturday, June 17th. 333 Northwest Street or toppersplusks.com.
Make your truck work for you.
Celebrate your birthday at Hook and Reel Cajun Seafood Restaurant. Enjoy a free birthday boil, including your choice of seafood and sauce with corn, potatoes, and cheesecake. Get the details and eat for free on your birthday at Hook and Reel at Town East Square, Kellogg and Rock.
The days are heating up, and it's time to get ready for concerts in the park at the Capitol Federal Amphitheater, 1607 East Central in Andover. Free Music Friday every Friday night, starting Friday, June 16th with the Lou Brown Band. Bring your lawn chair, blankets, and some extra cash for the food trucks. Gates open at 6:30. Music starts at 8 p.m. No outside coolers allowed. It's Free Music Fridays with concerts in the park at the Capitol Federal Amphitheater in Andover. Sponsored by IHOP.
Our employees at Don Linger Construction are the reason why we are a leader in our industry.
I like working for Don Linger Construction because I feel like I'm part of a team.
Don Linger Construction is now hiring positions in and around the Wichita area. We're employee-owned and offer competitive weekly pay and benefits. Quick start your new career and join our growing team. Apply online at donlinger.biz. That's DONDLINGER.biz. Don Linger Construction is an EEO-compliant employer. Veterans, women, and minorities are encouraged to apply.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue. Hog Wild, get some for you.
It's $5.99 barbecue time. Hurry to Hog Wild for a complete barbecue meal that's sure to fill you up for only $5.99. Josh Nicolette, Hog Wild partner and general manager at Harry and Rock Road, has got all the details.
Get a Hog Wild sandwich loaded with our award-winning meats like pulled pork, pulled chicken, or hot links, plus your choice of a classic side and a drink for just $5.99.
Upgrade your sandwich to beef brisket for just $1 more. Join us for lunch or dinner. You can also order online at GoHogWild.com. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue, 6 locations in Wichita, also in Derby, El Dorado, Hutchinson, and Salina.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue. Hog Wild, get some for you. But don't be late, we close at 8.
Forever Lawn South Central Kansas has the best reputation in the Midwest for artificial turf projects of all sizes. Forever Lawn sports grass is requested by both schools and homeowners and can be installed at football fields, baseball diamonds, bullpens, and even indoor training facilities. Can't get grass to grow or tired of paying outrageous water bills? Forever Lawn South Central Kansas can even repair existing artificial and natural sports surfaces. Ready to see what Forever Lawn can do for you? Call 316-688-0722. Tell them you heard about them on KFH.
You're listening to Sports Daily with Jacob and Tommy. Still to come, Jim Rome at 11, right here on KFH.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888. That's 888-8888.
I'm Trista Cook with BetQL. There is only one thing harder to do than win on the road consistently in Major League Baseball, and that's win against the spread on the road. Except if you're the Baltimore Orioles. Away from home, the O's are winning on the run line at an insane 77% clip. That defies logic and explanation, but do not lift the gift horse in the mouth. Bet the birds on the run line away from Camden Yards. I'm Trista Crick, helping you beat the books.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, that's it for us, everybody. Glad to be back. Tommy, let's do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, good to see you. Glad to be back together and looking forward to jumping in tomorrow.
We'll do it. We'll get you that Game 5 reaction of the NBA Finals. We'll look at some more of this conference realignment. All kinds of good stuff coming for you on a Tuesday edition of Sports Daily. I appreciate Tony Dusing stepping in for Jad today and manning things for us, keeping us afloat. Jim Rome follows us here. Regular day of programming. Glad to be here. See you tomorrow.